Hi guys, Jay Knowlton here, and I'm moving a little bit away from immigration and stuff like that today, and I'm going to talk about Pokemon. So specifically, Pokemon cards, because Japan has gone to war with scalpers, as things have just become, it sounds dramatic to say, unbearable. So I think, most people nowadays know what Pokemon cards are. A lot of you and us, we will have collected Pokemon cards at some point. I remember being in secondary school, like 12, 13, and getting our first Pokemon cards. And then a few years ago, when my daughter was about 4, we started collecting Pokemon cards again. I don't know how clear it is. There's a few folders around this area, maybe a little bit down. I've got a few thousand Pokemon cards. However, now just cannot buy any anymore. Essentially, I personally have just given up on the hobby because it's just impossible to collect them. Now, there's a few reasons for this. First of all, just the boom of popularity of the Pokemon cards. Rather than collecting cards that look cool and of Pokemon you like, now it's just basically about, can you get cards that you just resell for a higher price, get them graded, sell them on. The meaning of collecting Pokemon cards has changed a lot. Now you don't just have them in a folder, you have to have them in cases with a grade on them to show how much they're worth. So that's kind of the first reason why I'm not so interested in the Pokemon card collecting hobby. Because now a lot of people will just collect them to get the ones that are worth the most money rather than having ones that are cool to look at. Which is a shame. It's kind of the natural progression of cards nowadays, to be honest. Now they've kind of worked their way into every single form of trading card. And for a long time, I used to see videos of like America where you would see Costco, they put the boxes out and the people would just put like 8 to 10 boxes of cards in their cart. And I was always surprised, like, why don't they just limit it to one per person? Or why do they put them just all out where people can take them? Because Japan has limits and they have done for a long time. If you go to the Pokemon Center, you could only buy like 5 of each type. You couldn't just go in and say, I want all of this type of card. You could only limit them, which makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. And it kind of stops people just, hoarding everything. However, nowadays, even that has become too difficult to do. You can't find them anywhere anymore. The Pokemon Center is always sold out. And now they limit it, if they do have it, they limit it to just 2 packs per person, and that's it. And Japanese Pokemon card packs only come in packs of 5, whereas I think other countries come in packs of 10. So you can just get 10 cards. And I think the last time I even bought cards was about a month ago when me and my daughter just went to the convenience store to buy a drink. And it just so happened they had Pokemon cards on the counter in 7-Eleven, and you could only buy 1 pack per family. And that's it. If you look at Japanese social media, guess who they will blame? Now, I said this is moving away from immigration, but this is kind of, it's kind of adjacent. But who will they blame? Well, what do you know it? The Chinese and the Vietnamese. They're basically blaming them for scalping the cards, just sending families in to buy the cards, and then they'll just resell them on. Because the interesting thing about Pokemon card reselling nowadays is that you're not just reselling the cards, you're reselling just packs at a higher price. Because they know you can't buy them, they can just sell packs of Pokemon cards at a way inflated price. And if they send a family of 6 and they could only buy 5 packs each, that's still 30 packs they can buy. If they sell it for 50% more, that's still a decent amount of money. Now, of course, they're going to blame other people. And I don't want to jump on that train specifically because I don't have much evidence. However, just a few weeks ago when I went to Lalaport in my city, which has a Pokemon Center, I am very lucky to have a Pokemon Center in my city. That's how I got, you probably can't see it on the camera, there's like the 30th edition, the 30th anniversary edition Pokemon Green Pikachu over there, which I just happened to walk by, and that's when they were selling it, and they sold out within like 30 minutes or something like that. So I went to the Lala port because I took my wife and daughter to the cinema. I can't remember what they were going to watch. And the movie was before 10. And there was a line outside the Pokemon Center already. And they were all Vietnamese. And you might say, well, how do you know they're Vietnamese? Well, they were speaking Vietnamese, and you know, the Vietnamese language is very distinct. So they were all just, and there were about 15 of them. So that's only one, you know, period of evidence, just seeing that brief second. But I can only imagine that probably happens quite a lot. Scalping is something that Japan does try to take quite seriously. When you buy game consoles, for example, when the PlayStation 5 came out, it took me about 2 months to get one because you had to just enter all of these different lotteries. And luckily, I was able to get a PlayStation 5 because a friend had won 2 lotteries, but I had to travel an hour and a half to a different prefecture to get it. And then when the Nintendo Switch 2 came out, I could only get it because I had a specific credit card with a specific retailer, and they were doing a limited number of sales if you had a credit card. And that's how I got my Switch 2. So they take scalping very seriously. And now they're doing a lot of things to try and kick scalping here in Japan too, with the Pokemon cards. So there's been quite a few different pieces of news recently. I guess they're just trying lots of different stuff. So a few weeks there was a piece of news about how you had to answer a quiz to buy Pokemon cards. And if you didn't answer the questions to the quiz, you couldn't buy. And I could kind of understand the meaning behind why they would want to do that. Like, oh, you would want to be a real fan of Pokemon to buy the Pokemon cards. But realistically, like, kids want to buy Pokemon cards too. Kids love Pokemon, but might not necessarily be experts on everything Pokemon related. My daughter has watched hundreds of episodes of the anime. She's played Pokemon, or Pokopia, I think it's called, in English. She wears Pokemon t-shirts, stuff like that. She eats like the Pokemon cup noodles. But she probably doesn't know detailed about Pokemon because she's just 7. So she would be out, and then I would be out because I'm not answering a Japanese quiz about Pokemon. I know the names in English and I know some of the names in Japanese, but I'm not going to answer a quiz. So I think that it's a bit sketchy. And then the next one is they cut the corners of the packs to prevent reselling. Now, I don't know how this would necessarily affect reselling too much. If anything, if the corners had been cut, to me, that would say that they're more authentic from a shop, because why would the corners be cut otherwise? So they maybe thought if they cut the corner of the pack, then it means that people would be less likely to want to sell them on. But at the end of the day, if the cards are inside the pack, probably people would still want to buy them. And now finally, the one that I think they introduced yesterday was, now if you want to buy Pokemon cards, you have to display your My Number card, which is a card used as identification in Japan, which they introduced. It was before COVID, I believe. I think it was quite a while ago, like 10 years ago now. It wasn't mandatory for a long, long time, but they've been adding a lot of stuff that's kind of made it mandatory. Like now, basically everything is on your My Number card. I think your tax information, your personal details, your health insurance is on your My Number card. Today I renewed my driving license, and your driving license can be on your My Number card. From next month, your Zairyu card, your foreign, your alien card, whatever it's supposed to be called in English, your residence card, that can be on your My Number card. Basically everything can be on your My Number card. So when you scan it, all your info is there. that's a whole different topic of whether having such a card is good or not. I know that the UK is talking about having like personal ID cards. Japan has them. They're not technically mandatory, but a lot of things make it so you have to have them. So now you have to display your My Number card if you want to buy Pokemon cards. Now, I feel like this is kind of like not 100% going to crush the issue, because probably a lot of the people doing the scalping would have a My Number card anyway. And I don't believe they're going to take the information or scan the My Number card, because that would be a little bit weird. I think they just want to see that you have it. However, maybe adding a lot of these barriers might just make scalpers think, wow, this is, it's a bit of a pain in the backside nowadays. Like maybe one day we might be able to buy them on Amazon again. I don't know. I remember a couple of years ago for Christmas, my daughter's Christmas present from my brother was just, he bought a box of Pokemon cards on Amazon for her. And now you just can't do that anymore. Now you have to request an invite to be allowed to buy Pokemon cards. And I never get a response to those invites. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys still collect Pokemon cards even in this climate? Have you given up on the hobby? What's it like in your country? Does your country do anything to fight it? Please let me go. Please let me go. Please let me know. I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time.